because at the end, for some reason, and I knew that Honora was gonna win because I'm like, oh wait, Honora's been nominated for 6 Oscars and won 5 of them. 4 of them already won by Sean Baker.
Yeah, best director, best screenplay, best picture. What was the other one?
Best actress in a leading role, which is Mikey Madison.
Oh yeah, I thought you meant Sean Baker won 4, but okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and then they won best editing, and I think that's it. Yeah, best actress, best director, best screenplay, best picture, and best editing.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually I saw Nora the day before the Oscars. And I didn't watch the Oscars. I forgot what I was doing, but I didn't get to watch it. But I saw like the winners, and I saw Nora right before the day before the Oscars, and I really liked it. I really liked it. I didn't know what it was gonna be about, but I really liked it. I liked how it was like unpredictable. Um, I liked the acting was really good. I liked the like comedic parts of it, and it was like um, I don't know, it was like a mix of emotions. Like it was sad, unpredictable, thrilling, funny, dramatic. It was a bunch of different like twists and turns. Uh, so I think it was. I
And
think it was.
Mikey Madison was in the Screen Remake and the FX TV series Better Things,
Yeah,
which
I saw her in
came out in
Scream.
September of 2016.
Yeah, I think she was in Scream 6. Um, yeah, she was like, what was the dude's name? Space, um, Ghostface.
Yeah, Ghostface, the iconic character.
Mhm, yeah, yeah. So it's and she was in I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I didn't realize that until now. I
Yeah,
believe Dakota Fanning is in there as well. Oh, Once
yeah,
Upon a Time in Hollywood.
yeah, and Margaret Qualley.
I know she
Um,
was in Substance, but it's a good thing I watched it back in February.
yeah, she didn't win anything. I know
It's
they.
okay. It's okay. She still had a blast though. So I believe I saw Samuel L. Jackson presenting at the Oscars, Scarlett Johansson, and man, Scarlett Johansson was and
You
looks like
said Father James
the
Williams.
princess with that ball gown of hers and her gloves as well.
Yeah, um, yeah, and I think Adrian Brody won Best Actor.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I believe he was in other films such as C.L.I.C.K. Ronan. You know the movie with Saoirse Ronan and Sam Rockwell.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Anyway, I had to give that movie a first time watch.
Yeah. Um, People were pretty mad about Best Picture though. They thought either the Dune 2 should have gotten it or uh
Well, maybe everyone's been raging about Demi Moore should have won Best Actress.
yeah, she was
That's what I
good.
was.
Yeah, she was good in it. I don't know who would be better. I think either one would be good choice.
But
Like,
Mikey Madison, oh boy, she did real good in Honora. I just
yeah, she did. She really did. I liked her acting in that. But Demi Moore did really good as well. Um, in the substance. So you think make Mikey Madison deserved it more?
Mhm. So, what else we on some trend? I see. Yeah.
Here, let's take a look at the Oscar winners. So let me share my screen. All right. So Adrian Brody won Best Actor.
Yep.
against
I
Timothy
see. I know
Chalamet.
Kieran Culkin from A Real Pain won Best Actor in a supporting role, which is pretty good for the
Yeah,
actress. In
yep. Best actress, Mikey Madison. She
yep,
beat she beat
supporting
all.
role is Zoe Saldana. I know she was an Avatar and the Book of Life. By the way, I've seen the Book of Life several times, and boy, it's a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah,
Alongside Diego Luna, Ice Cube, Kate Del Castillo, and so many others.
yep. Best animated film, Flow. Best animated short film, In the Shadows of the Cypress. Best cinematography, The Brutalist.
Lowell Crawley, Paul Treswell with costume design.
Yeah. Best costume design, Wicked. Best directing, Sean Baker and Nora.
Hmm.
Best documentary, No Other Land. Best documentary short film, The Only Girl in the Orchestra. Best editing, Honora, Sean
Uh,
Baker. International film, Brazil. Best makeup, The Substance.
Daniel Bloomberg for The Brutalist.
Yep. Best music.
El
Best
Mal from Emilia Perez.
Yep. Best picture, Honora. Best production design, Wicked. Best live action short, I'm Not a Robot. Best sound, Doom. Best visual effects, Doom. Best writing, Conclave. Best writing, Nora. Yeah, so that's all of them. Yeah, Nora won a lot. And yeah, Nora. uh, Good job. And still, yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. Okay. So any other movies you've seen recently that caught your eye or anything new?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah. Nora was the thing I saw recently. That was pretty good. Um, so today, um, I think last week we talked about a few things. I don't think we talked about color grading. We talked about did we talk about I think we did talk about color grading for a little bit. And then we talked about low budget filmmaking, like making a low budget movie look professional. Uh, so that was episode 2. I don't know if we saw episode 1 for making a low budget film look cinematic. Because I think in 2, this was the production side, but we didn't see the casting, the writing side. So let's take a look at this and then talk about it. So I can stop sharing and then reshare.
Filmmaking at any level costs money, but it doesn't have to cost millions. At any level, the size of your ideas is almost always going to be bigger than the size of your wallet. Today, there are more creative solutions to the dreaded budget problem than ever. In this series, we'll look at how you can most effectively make a small scale movie with large scale ambitions. This is Low Budget Filmmaking, Episode 1 Pre Production. Step 1 in low budget filmmaking, subscribe to Studio Binder to get to know the craft like the back of your clapper. Tighten your belts. Let's get indie.
Okay, cut. You got to bring passion to it. A message. It's a message.
This is for the birds.
Low budget filmmaking has existed long before there was any type of filmmaking. Cinema was born among innovators with little more than a camera and some film. It is only as movies became more popular did budgets balloon. But even as Hollywood productions got more and more expensive, the scrappy and independent filmmaking scene has persisted, acting as a hotbed of experimentation and rising talent. This is truer than ever in today's film industry. Many filmmakers now start their careers not by climbing the ranks of traditional Hollywood systems, but by creating work outside of the system that can then get noticed. Independent filmmaker Jim Cummings explains.
We're assuming that the best screenplay wins, but all it takes is going to a cinema or just getting on Netflix and seeing that good ideas are not the thing that's getting made. Like, it has nothing to do with the quality of the script that these movies are getting made. And it's the way that you can make it work is by going in the middle and saying, okay, nobody's going to help us, but there's an open sore in the market where you can make something for a small budget. I didn't go to school for producing, but I was good on the phone and I just started doing it.
But of course, making a movie is rarely as easy as picking up a camera and hitting record. More often than not, a low budget film still needs a budget, a crew, and a cast. Let's look at what goes into getting a low budget movie off the ground before the camera starts rolling, beginning with scripting. Of course, you never want to be hyper conscious of budget limitations while writing a script, but it is important to be realistic about what can be achieved within your means. Writing a script with an Avatar scope for a Blair Witch Project budget will likely end in frustration or a compromised final product.
Everything will get back
I gotta
tomorrow.
work. I'm supposed to be at work tomorrow at 9.
I know.
Low budget scripts tend to have a limited number of characters and locations, making it easier to cast and produce. But there are exceptions to this rule. Slacker, for example, has a massive ensemble cast.
I was working up a harmonious relationship with him in equilibrium.
Richard Linklater pulled this off by writing about a community he was intimately acquainted with, the outcasts and weirdos of Austin, Texas. This gave him easier access to both cast and locations. Writing to your strengths as a filmmaker is also key. Gareth Edwards' concept for Monsters, for example, doesn't seem like it would be feasible on a low budget. But Edwards was a seasoned visual effects artist, so he knew he would be able to pull off the sci-fi elements at a lower cost.
Are you sure it's dead?
Yeah, Dad. Stay here.
You can also write to your limitations, using them as creative fuel rather than compromises. In We're All Going to the World's Fair, for example, Jane Schönbrunn uses the small cast and number of locations to comment on online isolation and connection.
I don't consider myself living Lord. Luke is making me someone else.
Once your script is written, it's time for the hard part, financing. Getting any amount of money for a movie can be difficult, even if it's just a small amount.
We borrow money and then for years we pay out on the installment plan.
Traditional routes to financing, like studios, are extremely difficult to land, especially for non-commercial ideas or first-time filmmakers. As such, many low-budget productions seek financing from independent investors.
Thank you.
Emma Seligman describes obtaining her budget for a Shiva baby.
None of us ever made a feature. We tried all the traditional ways of going to production companies. I guess traditional in the US, like, going to our mentors and past professors, and everyone said no. So eventually we just begged people for money and, we asked people if they wanted to start a career in like film investment and just went to everybody we knew. It was the toughest thing from short to feature was just financing.
Hey, I'm really sorry. It's fine.
Obtaining money from private investors, too, is no walk in the park. The hard truth is that putting money into an indie movie, by and large, is not a good financial investment. The chances of return for an investor are low and depend on a myriad of variables. And so, a pitch that revolves around return on investment will likely not convince anyone who is financially savvy.
It's a bad investment, that's all. Bad investment.
Instead, Private investment is typically secured through a pitch that revolves around creative vision and potential cultural impact. This way, even if an investor isn't confident they'll make their money back, they can be assured that the project will be something they can be proud to be attached to and will carry cultural cachet for them. Another fundraising method favored by many low-budget filmmakers is crowdfunding. On sites like Seed and Spark, Kickstarter, and Indiegogo, filmmakers can pitch their movies to the public, utilizing trailers, posters, BTS footage, and merchandise for people who decide to invest. Crowdfunded investments can also be treated like other forms of private investment. Crowdfunders can get points in a project and see money back if the movie profits. Jim Cummings explains this approach.
For Thunder Road, we ran a Kickstarter campaign and we raised 34 grand. And that was just like giving out t-shirts and posters and stuff to people that wanted to see the short film become a feature. And then we just ran a crowd equity campaign, which is something new to us. I had never seen the films do that. It was essentially what we were doing already. Like we were selling points of our company to different people that wanted to help finance the movies. And so I was like, well, why don't we just open it up to the public instead of 6 film financiers that we know? And we raised 350 grand in the first 20 days.
Typically, this approach requires either social media marketing savvy, where a project's pitch can go viral, or the creators behind the project already have bona fides. In Cummings' case, for example, he was adapting his Sundance-winning short film.
Sorry. I don't know if I can keep going.
Another option for funding is one which is typically advised against: self-financing.
Not even supposed to be here today.
There have been famous success stories, such as Kevin Smith's Clerks. But by and large, self-financing is extremely risky and puts the financial burden on the filmmaker.
Like the cigarettes?
But there are still some advocates for this approach, including Mark Duplass.
It wasn't an integrity move. It was like, fine, we'll just go. And what I was lucky enough to do is I had just signed my first writing deal to write something. So took the money, some of the money we made from that, put it in a bag head, and then we went there, and then we ended up selling the movie for about 15 times what we made it for. That's where Jay and I were like, hold on. What we thought was the last ditch solution of we'll finance it ourselves is actually the best. I didn't have to deal with anybody. We might have a model here.
Typically, unless a filmmaker is coming from a place of financial success, self-financing is reserved for what are dubbed no-budget movies, where a budget is not more than a few $1,000s. Anything under $1 million, however, is still considered to be extremely low budget. And so, even with financing in place, you'll need to maximize economic efficiency in pre-production, beginning with how you build your crew. Generally, on a low-budget set, no one is there solely for the paycheck, because otherwise they'd be somewhere else. This means that when you're hiring your team, you'll need to prioritize people who are passionate about your project and who have a vested interest in seeing it come out as good as possible. It is the passion typically coming from or created by a group of like-minded people that characterizes successful low-budget projects. John Waters discusses how he assembled the team for his early films.
We went to downtown, right, to Baltimore, where there was poor kids, redneck kids that were also rebels from their culture, gay people that were rebels from gay culture. They thought gay society had too much rules. They didn't even like gay society. And beatniks and all that humor. We were united through marijuana, rage, defiance, and a sense of humor. And it became this little nucleus of this group insanity where we made these movies.
That's it.
This remains true for even established filmmakers on low-budget movies. David Lowery describes his approach to making the ultra-low-budget movie a ghost story.
The rules I had for making this movie was that I only wanted to make it with friends. I wanted to just keep a very close family of friends together to just make this in secret in Texas without a big crew, not a lot of people knowing about it.
So tell me what happens if Beethoven's writing his Ninth Symphony and suddenly he wakes up one day and realizes God doesn't exist.
A small budget typically means that you will be working with a small crew. So it's important to take stock of exactly who you will need on set before hiring people. In other words, avoid hiring positions simply because they exist on other sets. For Steven Soderbergh on Unsane, a smaller crew was a plus. He notes that we had a really small crew. The camera department was the assistant cameraman, and the camera pack could fit all of it in a backpack. There's a very tangible effect when you're traveling that light in terms of doing things and moving from this location to that location.
What am I doing in here?
I need to look through your bag.
Why?
Don't worry, you're not being singled out. I looked through everyone's bag. It's procedure.
Many positions in your crew will likely be doing you a favor, particularly the lower level positions. So you may need to schedule around higher paying jobs. Be prepared to bring in different people to fill in positions from day to day. David Lynch took this approach with cinematographers on Eraserhead.
Fred started shooting after that. We'd been shooting for 9 months. So there was another cameraman that shot for 9 months. Then Fred came in, but Fred shot for 2.5 years.
Building a crew is only half the battle. For a narrative feature, you'll also need a cast.
It's been quite a long time. A lot of jobs.
Like with hiring crew members, casting for a low-budget film can also require ingenuity. A filmmaker must be able to make a case to an actor that they should take a risk by starring in their movie. After all, if they agree, they will likely not have the amenities available on larger movies, nor will they be paid much.
Sid's dead, baby. Sid's dead.
For this reason, it can be difficult to get a bigger name actor to sign on to a low-budget project. But anything is possible, especially with a personalized pitch that happens to come at the right time. David Lowery explains how he got Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara for A Ghost Story.
It wasn't like reaching out to agents saying, here's an offer for an actor. We were, will they accept it? This was just me sending them text messages saying, hey, I think I might make this thing. I'd love for you to be a part of it. And they both thankfully were.
But big name actor isn't the only way to get attention from a casting decision. Filmmakers may cast people who are well known outside of acting. In Red Rocket, for example, Sean Baker cast Simon Rex, who didn't have an extensive acting career, but was well known for his days on MTV.
I like your stuff too, man. You and Snoop are the homies, aren't you?
Yeah, we homies.
All right.
That's all
Hey,
that is.
hey.
For Halloween, John Carpenter and producer Deborah Hill took yet another approach, casting Jamie Lee Curtis not just because she was right for the role, but also because of her family. Explains Hill. I knew casting Jamie Lee would be great publicity for the film because her mother was in Psycho. But of course, a recognizable name isn't a necessity for the success of a movie. Sometimes an actor is simply perfect for the part. Many low-budget filmmakers will work with non-actors. This allows them to keep the cast price tag low, while potentially increasing the authenticity of the movie.
On her arm and on her hands and everything, it was like hair, like a real dark, almost black hair.
In Primer, for example, Shane Carruth cast many of the bit parts with people who actually worked the job they were portraying. He explains, everyone in the film other than David and myself is either a family member, friend, or the actual person who works at that location. Working with non-actors may even be less of a budgetary decision and more of a creative one. Chloe Zhao's film, The Writer, is loosely based on the story of Brady Jandreau, who is playing the protagonist. Zhao explains the process.
It's a little bit more like how much you want the person that plays the character to be immersed in the story and the world. How much freedom you're going to give them to be who they are and to interact with the world you create that's so real to them. And some of my favorite filmmakers work that way. If it happens to be someone who's acted before, great. If not, that's fine too.
Thanks, Rick.
Hey, don't give up.
Above all else, primary consideration when casting a low-budget movie should be the same as any other budget tier. Is the person right for the role?
So guess what?
What?
I'm pregnant.
Low-budget filmmaking isn't easy, but it's far from impossible. With some creativity and grit, anyone can get a movie off the ground. You just have to start somewhere. And that somewhere may be Studio Binder's pre-production services, which has software for everything from screenwriting
Okay. So I've actually done some low budget filmmaking, and they're right about a lot of this stuff. Um, like paying out of pocket is not the best thing to do. Because that's what I was doing at first. Like I was paying out of pocket for a lot of stuff, and then I realized like that's not efficient. You know what I mean? Like spending your own money to pay for actors, and luckily, like I was a video editor, a cinematographer, and like a director. So I was able to fill those roles myself. I didn't have to pay anybody to do that. But in terms of like the acting and the like sound effects and like costume makeup producing all that stuff, I did have to pay people, and I was out of pocket, and that took a big load of my pocket. So if you're ever thinking about creating a film, and you want to finance it, you know how they mentioned crowdfunding is good, like posting your project online, seeing who could potentially invest money into your project if they believe in it. Also, looking for grants. So, like, if you go online and search grants for short films and directors, right? So there's little grants. So if you make a small, like, video of what your film is or a script and submit it, and they like it, you'll get $20,000 or $15,000 or $25,000 to make your film, right? And you may think 25,000 is not a lot, but um, I don't know if you think how it depending on how big you want your project is. 25,000 can be a lot of money, but also cannot be very much depending on like who's in the film, who you have to pay, and whatnot. But financing is super important. They also mentioned what they say. They mentioned independent financiers, right? So getting people who you reach out to and say, "Hey, I got this project. Can you invest in my film?" They may say yes. They may say no. They say no, move on. If they say yes, great. But they may only fund a small portion of it. They may say, "Okay, we'll give you $6,000 for this movie." Well, $6,000 might not be enough, right? So what if you need 20,000? But if you reach out to five different independent investors and they each give you $6,000, well, that's $30,000 for your film, and that happens, right? So crowdfunding, independent freelancers, grants. What else did they say? Uh, yeah, crowdfunding, self-finance. We talked about that. Yeah, those are the main ways of financing a film. Because at the end of the day, people want to get paid for their work, which makes sense, right? Unless you're really cool with somebody and they're in this film with you, most of the time you're gonna have to pay people. Um, so let's say you got that going, and then now script writing, right? When you want to write a script, right? And that could be easy for a person, right? Depending on their level of expertise in writing, you can honestly nowadays have ChatGPT write a script for you. So there's some like debate between that, like people saying, well, that's not really your script if you had a computer write it out. There's some people saying, well, it just helps me because to get my idea down and to help the format. But ChatGTP is a great resource for script writing if you're not exactly good at writing a script. But also hiring a script writer, a person who knows how to write films, tell them your idea, work with them on it and tell them, hey, this is what I want. And then they write a script for you. You can also take a writing class and write your own script. Like learn how to write a script, what different things mean on the script, and whatnot. And those are some different avenues to take on. So you can write your own script by learning, taking a class or a course. You can pay somebody to write your script, right? A person who is uh, has knowledge about script writing, and then or you can use ChatGTP. So those are some options for script writing. Hiring a crew, again, that can get expensive. But I think the best thing is if you're good at a lot of different things, you may be able to take on multiple roles. So I know for me personally, um, like I said, I do video editing, cinematography, and directing. So I'm able to really don't have to pay for those people because I can do it myself. There are obviously people who are, I would say, more advanced than I am, but I can fill those roles and save a lot of money that way. So figuring out something you're already good at, you can fulfill that role for you. So some people may be good at editing, some people may be good at makeup, some people may be good at writing. So fulfilling those roles that you don't have to pay for is will save you some money. And give me 1 second. I'm gonna just use the bathroom quick, and I'll be right back. All right. So yeah, figuring out stuff that you're already good at will save you money and time if you can fulfill those roles on your own. Um, let's see. And another thing that they mentioned is anticipate conflicts, which I think is good because um, things just happen, right? Things you don't plan for, things that you didn't expect. So it's important to be prepared for certain things, just in case. Uh, so somebody may get sick, somebody may not be interested in a project anymore, somebody may get in a car accident, anything could happen and they could throw off um, the production, right? So it can be uh, pretty hard sometimes to get everybody together to work on something. So keep that in mind too when making a film. Just things happen. Things don't always go according to plan. And yeah. So let's see. And then casting, another important part, right? Like casting your actors. Most of the time, I like how they said in this video, like in some of the films, like who you cast can affect who watches your movie, right? So if you choose let's say, an A-list actor in your movie, one that's well known, that may get people to watch your movie. But if you choose an actor nobody really knows about, it may not gauge interest, right? So depending on who you cast can have an effect on your movie. Um, so like how they said in what movie was it? And this movie, A Mile, this actor here, let me see what he said.
For example, Sean Baker cast Simon Rex, who did.
Yeah, so when Cass Baker cast Simon Rex, he wasn't a well-known actor. He did some stuff on TV here and there, but he wasn't very well known. But he casted him because he has some experience with acting. He did have a little bit of name to him, a little bit of status to his name, so he was a good fit for this role. And then Halloween, when they hired Jamie Lynn Curtis, her mom played in Psycho, so she wasn't Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't a very big actor at the time, but they knew, okay, well, her mother is an actress. Let's see what she can do. So her name had like status to it, right? Like Curtis' name. So people gave people a reason to see the movie. Um, but and all they mentioned, and all they also mentioned using non-actors, right? So using your friends or using people that you were helped before and telling them, hey, can you work on my film because I helped yours? So I like that collaboration aspect to it. So you can make your film come out anyway. It's just a matter of people want to if it's going to be good or not. Because acting is probably arguably one of the most important aspects of a film, right? So if the acting is bad, most people are going to turn it off, right? So acting is something you actually want to be pretty good and something that you want to be, on point because most people won't watch a movie. I mean, some might, but for some people, they may turn it off if they were like, "This is horrible," right? So just keep that in mind too. So I'm actually still learning a lot about low budget filmmaking because I'm not a production um, company and I'm not like an established director yet. So it doesn't. So for me, I'm still learning the ropes too in terms of financing and getting stuff together. But I made a couple of short films, and I started to see how expensive they got. So a lot of them I use my friends. I probably won't do that again if I make another film, just because a lot of them don't know how to act. That's just not what they do. I just got them because it saved money. But if you actually I actually want the quality of the film to be good. So I'll take that time to find an actor or actress who I think would work. Um, so yeah. All right. So next thing I kind of want to talk about is like reading a script. So let's watch this video on the anatomy of the screenplay, and then let's read some scripts and try to understand it a little bit better and see what they mean. Let me just pull up something really quick. So yeah, let's talk about screenwriting and scripts a little bit. So I'll play this video and then we'll talk about it. Have you read a script before, Elijah? Elijah, have you read a script before? Well, let's watch this video and then we'll. All right.
Wrote this.
Wrote this extraordinary Robert. A screenplay is the backbone of narrative filmmaking.
That's some great writing.
Even the smallest nuances of its formatting and contents are crucial to the functioning of the film industry. What are these script elements? Where do they come from? And why are they vitally important? This is Anatomy of a Screenplay. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to Studio Binder and click the bell to get notifications for our videos on all things filmmaking. We'll use Studio Binder screenwriting and script breakdown software to illustrate the elements and industry standard formatting of a screenplay. Let's begin.
That's them, officer. I'm a writer. I'm trying to write in here. I'm making noise.
To understand the modern screenplay, one must understand its history.
You know your history. Very good.
And to understand its history, one must understand the history of film production.
And cut. Cut.
The first written outlines for movies were called scenarios, because films at the time were barely a few minutes long. These scenarios were short synopses that summed up a film in a few sentences. As filmmaking techniques grew more complex, so did their written documents. Films like 1902's A Trip to the Moon contained multiple cuts and scenes. And by 1903's Great Train Robbery, filmmakers were writing out their stories in a master scene format, which contained a series of descriptions for each scene. Scripts continued to change with the rise of the studio system in the 1920s. This resulted in a continuity script, which allowed executives to track costs and shooting times. Industrious executives applied the assembly line production technique to filmmaking, which required a script that was far more detailed, specifying the required shots and cuts in writing. In 1948, antitrust actions by the US government made the studio system give way to the package unit system, which meant producers would organize film projects into packages, often including a script, talent, and other creatives in order to secure funding. In this new context, the script shifted once more, now focused on readability and sellability. It still contained some of the elements of the continuity script, but it focused on telling a story and was less technically specific, giving directors more control over the process. This form is called the master scene script and is the format still used today. So what are the elements of the master scene script?
Script is amazing.
Over time, a very specific format has emerged for screenwriting. Screenplays are written in 12-point Courier font, a standard which was set in the 1980s since it was accessible to both typewriters and computers. The font is also monospaced, meaning every character and space is the same width, making the length of writing more consistent. Margin should be 1.5 inches on the left and 1 inch on the right, top and bottom. Each page, except page 1, should be numbered in the top right corner. The first page of the script is the title page. The title should be written in the center of the page in capital letters and sometimes underlined. Under the title, write by or written by, and the name of the writer or writers under that. If the script is based on a pre-existing property, write based on under your name and include the name of the property. In the bottom left corner, include your contact information or the information of your representation, like a manager or agent. An optional draft date can be added to the bottom right.
It's gonna be a hot time in a cold town tonight.
You got kind of a dark side, don't you?
No darker than yours, Bert.
After the title page, a script contains 6 basic elements. The first is the scene heading, otherwise known as the slug line. The slug line contains the most vital information of a scene, location and time. If your location is outside, your heading will begin with an EXT for exterior. If inside, use INT for interior. If your scene is both at once, use INT/EXT. This will be followed by a succinct title for the location. Sometimes you may use a dash and more specific location if your characters are moving through a larger space. Finally, add the time after a dash.
Holy smokes, it's morning.
This can be the time of day,
You can't tell if it's night or day.
or the time in relation to the previous scene, like continuous or moments later. Keep your scene heading to one line for maximum readability.
Now you're in the sunken place.
You can also use subheadings to shift locations or time without breaking up a scene. These are in uppercase, but lack exterior information. The next element is action. This is anything that's in the scene which isn't dialogue. Action should be written in the present tense, and usually should only describe the visual nature of the scene. Describing a character's thoughts or using flowery language is normally avoided since it can't be depicted on camera.
What are you thinking, Mama?
Certain components of action should be in uppercase, including a character's name the first time they appear. Sound effects, key details, and props can also be capitalized, but only when necessary.
Here it is, golden ticket number 3, and it's all mine.
Don't overdo it. And unless you're also the director, don't write any camera shots into the script. The third element is character. When a character has dialogue, their name should appear in uppercase, indented 3.7 inches. This is also called a character cue.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Next comes dialogue. Dialogue should appear 2.5 inches from the left side of the page. Directions placed next to a character's name can indicate voiceover.
I hope to see my friend and shake his hand.
Off screen.
You're trying to take the next.
Or pre-lap, when a character's dialogue begins before a scene does.
Night. The son lost a father. The wife lost a husband. And I lost a friend.
If a character speaks twice or more in a row, or if their dialogue is split up by a page break, continued will be added.
You know what I can? Ugly all day. This ain't happening. Not here. Not now. Let's have it.
Parentheticals under a character's name in dialogue are a separate element. These are used to indicate a performance.
Yes. Hurts.
Or, when in the middle of a longer piece of dialogue, a pause or shift.
That guy bumped into my feet when he walked by. I don't know why, but that kind of creeped me out.
Parentheticals are best used sparingly. Only employ them when totally necessary.
That shirt better not give her nightmares.
Transitions are another screenplay element to use sparingly. A holdout from the continuity script era, transitions are formatted on the right side of a page with a colon. Examples include cut to,
When they're off too loud.
dissolve to, and match cut to. Because these decisions are best left to an editor, Only use a transition if it is crucial to the story. If you want to indicate a montage, you can write Begin Montage on the left side of the page, above the scene heading. And when the montage concludes, write End Montage in the same place at the end of the scene. If you want to include text on the screen, you can write an uppercase chiron or title with a colon, and then write the text you want to include. Note that this is not for credit sequences. Don't worry if you're not able to remember all these formatting conventions.
Well, it's hard to remember anything at that age.
Screenwriting programs take care of formatting for the writer. Check out Studio Binder screenwriting software, linked in the description below. But what is the purpose of the script standardization? Let's look at why formatting is important.
How did you get a copy of my screenplay?
If you're a screenwriter early in your career, correct formatting is crucial for one main reason. It signals to a reader that you know what you're doing.
I know exactly what I'm doing now.
Remember, the history of the master scene screenplay is rooted in sellability.
It's very easy to sell a product when people like it so much.
Producers, agents, and production companies comb through countless screenplays. And a script which is incorrectly formatted provides a quick excuse for them to discard it.
I think what's wrong with the script is you.
But there are other reasons why formatting is important.
Yeah, do tell.
The format of a screenplay is designed to represent 1 minute per page on average. A 120-page script roughly translates to a 2-hour movie. This allows filmmakers to have a good sense of the length of their film before they start rolling.
That's how much time we have.
Standardization also allows for a script to be useful for a variety of departments. For a director, the master scene script gives them just enough information they can understand the story, but they aren't told how it should be shot or edited,
It's not in my film.
giving them freedom that they often didn't have in the studio system.
What goes up on the screen is the director's vision of what the story is all about.
Once the master scene script is finalized and ready for pre-production, it becomes what's called a shooting script. This draft of the screenplay is locked, becoming the definitive version for the crew to reference. Once a script is locked, scene numbers are added with 0.75-inch margins on the left and 1-inch margins on the right side of the page. Should future revisions be required, each successive draft is designated by a color in accordance with the WGA standard. The original is white, then blue, pink, yellow, and so on. The revision date and corresponding color are written in the top right corner of each edited page and on the title page. Rather than reprint the entire script for each minor change,
You see load letter. What does that mean?
only the pages with edits are printed in these respective colors. You might end up with a script with many different colored pages, which is why they're called rainbow scripts. These revisions are carefully distributed to the entire crew to ensure everyone has the most current version. If scenes are added, they are given letters to avoid affecting the pre-existing scene numbers. In this draft of John August's script for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the added scene before scene 44 is labeled A44. If a scene is removed, its number remains with the word omitted, as you can see in David Koepp's draft of Carlito's Way. The modern screenplay format is also ideal for an assistant director, who often does a script breakdown before a shoot, dividing each page evenly into eighths to estimate both screen and shooting time, and ultimately the budget.
It's very expensive.
I know. A script breakdown will also take into account all of the elements required in each scene. An AD often tags these items with different colors. And the screenplay makes these elements easy to identify and keep track of, including characters, costumes, extras, stunts, and sound. Writing important props and set dressing in uppercase helps a production designer do their own breakdown.
7 years ago.
A script's bare bones writing style means that a production designer knows if something is mentioned on the page, they should include it, while still allowing them enough room to bring their own ideas into fleshing out the set. The screenplay and its elements are designed to be the ultimate blueprint for a film crew, not a finished product in and of itself. That's why standardizing of format and writing conventions is so important. And many great screenwriters use these conventions in unexpected manners. Let's look at some creative applications of the screenplay format.
What's that?
Just because the screenwriting rules are strict doesn't mean a screenplay has to be by the numbers.
Landlords.
In the script for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Charlie Kaufman formats his montages in a unique way, including all the different scenes and images in one paragraph rather than breaking them up. Normally, each scene and location should be clearly delineated for readability and convenience for the assistant director. But here, the lack of separation more effectively delivers the feeling Kaufman wants to evoke. These decaying memories are blurring together, and Joel is quickly cycling through brief moments with Clementine. Aaron Sorkin stuffs his scripts with dialogue, often going pages without a single line of action. In other circumstances, this approach could leave a reader wondering what is happening visually in a sequence. For Sorkin, omitting action allows him to build the unique rhythm that is key to his dialogue.
You don't think that deserves your attention?
I think if your clients want to sit on my shoulders and call themselves tall, I have a right to give it a try, but there's no requirement that I enjoy sitting here listening to people lie. You have part of my attention. You have the minimum amount.
Spike Lee uses action lines not just to indicate visuals, but also to establish his distinct voice and point of view.
Always do the right thing.
That's it?
That's it.
I got it. I'm gone.
For the introduction of the cornermen in Do the Right Thing, Lee elaborates on the type of people the characters are. Every day on this corner, summer or winter, spring or fall, a small group of men meet. They have no steady employment, nothing they can speak of. They do, however, have the gift of gab.
Ladies and gentlemen, the way I see it, this hot weather continues, it's going to melt the polar caps and the whole wide world.
Lee bends the rules of sticking to visuals when writing action. But this kind of zoomed out diatribe indicates what will be so special about Do the Right Thing. It is not just a story, it's a commentary on race relations at large.
Hey, Sal, how can I put some on the wall here?
You want brothers on the wall? It's your own place. You can do what you want.
Todd Field infuses his voice into action in a different way. In his screenplay for Todd, his action lines are often long and dense, including minute details about the music, fitting for a film which revolves around a conductor. Although the screenplay is only 94 pages long, Field includes a disclaimer at the beginning, warning prospective funders that the film will be much longer and not reasonable. In her script for Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig also addresses the reader. During this driving scene early in the script, Gerwig explicitly notes in bold to remember this moment of Marion driving through Sacramento. This calls attention to a short scene that otherwise may be skimmed over and gives the ending of the film an even sweeter payoff, connecting Lady Bird with her mom. They are more similar than either may admit.
Hey, Mom, did you feel emotional the first time that you drove in Sacramento?
John Carpenter and Deborah Hill use underlining in their screenplay for Halloween. The underlining emphasizes any important actions and indicates what is going to frighten the audience in a given scene. Strict screenwriting conventions are there for a reason, having been shaped by the production processes of countless films. And following these conventions doesn't have to feel restrictive.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Screenplay can fit within formatting rules while still being wildly experimental and original.
Highly experimental.
Write and break down your next screenplay with Studio Binder's pre-production software. That's all for now. Remember, it all starts with page 1.
Anyway, you gotta read my script. Did you by chance read my script?
Have you read my script yet?
I know you're busy, but have you had time to read my script?
Are you going to write about this in your screenplay?
I really don't know what this is.
Right. So, Elijah, have you read a script before?
Apparently, apparently, if you, apparently yes, because whenever my theater arts class, I used to read a script,
Okay, so you've read one before.
but for the movie scripts, not really.
Okay. They're kind of similar, but a little different. Um, so let me just pull up a script and we'll kind of talk about it. All right. So a quick screenplay definition. If you want to make that transition from writing to script writing, you have to know what a script is. So let's define what a screenplay is. So a screenplay is a written work for a film, TV show, or other moving media that expresses the movement, action, and dialogue of characters. Screenplay or scripts are the blueprint for the movie. A screenplay is written in a specific format to distinguish between characters, action lines, and dialogue. The formatting is also used to guide the budget and schedule for the production. So some things that are included in a script is scene heading, action lines, character names, dialogue, and parentheticals. So we're gonna worry about the history. But I do want to talk about the elements of the screenplay. All right. So if we look at this script here, there's a lot kind of going on. So let's kind of break it down. And then we'll go deeper into what it all means. So first thing is the screen heading. So if you see, hold on, let me one second, let me screenshot this. One second. All right, Elijah, can you see this right here?
Yes.
You see like the script?
Yes, I can see the script.
All right. So this is a traditional script. So let's kind of break it down and then we'll go into it a little bit deeper. So the first thing on a script is called a slug line, and it's the beginning of the script. So they call it the scene heading, but it's also called a slug line. So you'll hear them be called either a scene heading or slug line. So a scene heading is one line description of the location and time of day. So for example, in this script right here, we see EXT suburban home night. So what this basically tells us is that, okay, this scene is shot outside, so exterior. So if you see EXT, that's exterior. If you see INT, that's interior. So we know it's shot outside somewhere. Okay, cool. Exterior. Where exterior? Of a suburban house. What time of day? At night. So we know this scene is going to be shot at nighttime outside a suburban home because we see it the slow line. So that's the first thing we know when we open this and read the script. So that's the scene heading, is the time of day and location of this particular scene. So next thing you'll see under that typically is the action sequence, right? So this describes what actions are in the scene. So in this case, it says we open on a modern suburban home, the front window illuminated by the lights inside. We see the silhouette of a small human figure as it runs back and forth. We push in closer as we slowly see a boy running around the house. Okay, so this tells us the actions in the scene. Nobody's talking, nobody's really, no dialogue, is just action. So we see the action scene. So this also lets the cinematographer know what shots to get, right? If we know it's a house scene outside a suburban home, we know that the cinematographer won't be shooting this inside, he'll be shooting this shot. He or she will be shooting this outside. So that's the action scene. That's typically under the scene heading. Here it is again. This says INT, suburban home, kitchen, and night. So what does this tell you, Elijah? What do you think this means?
Suburban home kitchen. I mean,
what do you think this INT means? If EXT means exterior, what do you think this INT means?
Interior.
Right. So how would you describe this scene? Like describe it, the time of day, location. What would this be? If this up here is outside a suburban home at night, what do you think this one would be?
I mean, if the first one has to be an outside at night, I mean, the second one has to be an outside at night.
Not quite, because look how it's a different scene heading. This is a different scene. So this is scene one, and then this is scene two. So we see the first scene is exterior suburban home. This one says INT, so it's not going to be outside, it's going to be inside this time. So interior suburban home, a kitchen at night. So what this tells us is that we're going to shoot this scene inside the home in the kitchen at nighttime. So that's what that tells us, right?
Okay.
Cool. So anytime you see, and we'll go over another example, but I just want you to know this formatting. EXT means exterior or outside. INT means inside, and then day or night. So right here we have the action scene again. Just like up here, here's another action scene, always under the scene heading, right? To let us know what this scene is about to start into. What is the introduction of this scene? So a green ball sits on a countertop. A young hand snatches it. It belongs to Filbert. Weary, lost in his own imaginary world, dressed as a knight, a toy sword in his other hand. So this lets us know, as the cinematographer, we're gonna be inside of a kitchen at nighttime, getting a shot of a green ball on top of a countertop, and then a young hand snatches it. And then we see the boy dressed as a knight with a toy sword in his other hand. So this is we know the scene and then the action. All right. So the action scene is always under the scene heading. An action scene is just action. There's no dialogue. It just tells us what the scene is, an introduction to the scene. So next, after the action, typically we have the character, right? We see the character is just their name in caps. That's very simple. If we see their name, we know what character is about to speak. So in this case, Filbert is the character about to speak. And so if we see this VO in parentheses, that's an extension. Sometimes you'll see VO, sometimes you'll see pre-lap, sometimes you'll see voiceover pre-lap, or I forgot the other one. But it's basically an extension. It's basically telling you how this person's going to talk. So VO means voiceover. If you ever see VO, that means voiceover. So that means Filbert will be saying this as a voiceover. We won't actually be seeing him. We won't actually get a shot of him talking. It'll be a voiceover. So we'll hear his voice, but we won't actually see him yet. So anytime you see any parentheses next to somebody's name, that's an extension. That tells the director and video editor how the shot should be captured. So if this VO wasn't there, that means that we'll just be shooting Filbert saying this dialogue. But the fact that we have a VO in parentheses lets us know that this dialogue is going to be a voiceover. We'll be hearing it, but we won't actually be seeing Filbert. So you'll always see that next to a character's name because it lets us know if that character will be saying these words as a voiceover person, a pre-lap. A pre-lap means that they'll be speaking before the scene starts. Cool. So next, under the character's name is their dialogue, is what they'll be saying. So Filbert, he'll be saying, "This is my castle. I am sworn to protect it. Sworn to protect it. Anyone that stands in my way shall bear the wrath of the Almighty." Same with Becky. This is her line. So anytime you see lines under a character's name, that means those are the lines that character is going to say. So that's the dialogue, the lines of a speech your character says. Okay. So next thing we have is an intercut. So let's say you're talking on the phone. Let's say you have a scene like in this scene, they're talking on the phone, right? Becky and Tracy are on the phone. So what they're basically doing is this intercut. They say intercut phone conversation. That means they're getting a shot of when Becky speaks and then a shot of when Tracy speaks. So they're going back and forth with the shots. So when Tracy's speaking, they'll get a shot of her. Then when Becky's speaking, we'll get a shot of Becky. So it's an intercut. They're going back and forth. The shots are going to go back and forth. If it wasn't an intercut, that means it'll just be a shot on that one person talking on the phone. It won't go between Tracy and Becky. It'll just be on Becky or on Tracy. But the fact that it says an intercut, that lets us know that we want the cinematographer to get a shot of Becky when she's talking and then cut to Tracy when she's talking and then back to Becky when she's talking and then back to Tracy, right? So you've seen the Scream series, right? At the beginning, when Drew Barrymore is on the phone and the ghost face says, "What's your favorite scary movie?" and they have that conversation. That wouldn't be an intercut because we don't see Ghostface talking. We just see Drew Barrymore's character. We don't ever see Ghostface talking. We just, even though we hear his words, we don't actually see him talking in the phone. We just hear him, but we don't actually see him on the phone like we see Drew Barrymore's character. That would not be an intercut scene. That would just be, they would probably say like voiceover or something like that, but it won't be an intercut. So intercut is strictly for if you're cutting between multiple people in multiple locations, going back and forth. So this is perfect for like phone conversations, somebody's on a walkie-talkie, or somebody's whatever. Just anytime somebody's communicating, you have an intercut switching between the two characters. All right. So next thing you have is a subheader. So if you see a subheader that's like hallway or dorm room, that lets us know that there's a minor change in the location, right? It's not a complete change in the scene. It's just a quick change in the location. So that's a subheader. Next, we go back at the beginning of the script, we see a transition, right? Transition. So this is fade in. So that lets the video editor know that we're fading into this scene, right? We're doing a fade in from black, and we're fading into the scene. So there's always a transition at the beginning. It could be a fade in, a punch in, a swirl in, anything. It just lets us know how we're about to introduce this scene, right? So if you see if you see numbers, that means the scene. So this is scene 1, this is scene 2, right? So it lets us know what scene this is. So scene 1, scene 2, boom. Again, we have another transition, cut to. And the important thing about a script, the first thing important about a script is that a script is supposed to have everybody on the same page, right? The actors, so they're saying the lines, the director, so they can follow the movie and the movie's following, the right script. The video editor, so they know what to put, what transitions, what shot to go first. Also helps the cinematographer, so for he or she to know what shot to get. It helps the producers. So everybody needs to read a script on a film set because they all need to be on the same page and know what a script is and how it's written. So that's why it's important to understand a script, because this is the language in filmmaking that they follow. It's a standard. So again, cut to, fade in, those are all transitions. Again, we talked about extensions. That just lets us know how this character is going to speak. So it clarifies where a character is when they can't be seen. So we know Filbert can't be seen. That's because he's doing a voiceover, right? So if you see a VO next to a character's name, voiceover. So parentheticals, that provides info on how the actor should say their line. So Becky, for example, we see parentheses into the phone. That lets us know that Becky should be speaking into the phone. If we see sadly, that means Becky should be speaking sadly. If we see, exciting or nervously or anxiously in parentheses, that lets us know Becky's needs to be speaking anxiously, whatever she's saying. So it's a way to show how the actor or actress should say their lines. If we ever see parentheses under their name, so next to their name is an extension, but under their name is a parenthetical. It lets us know how the actor should describe their line and how they should say it. And then sometimes we see a shot, which indicates the camera angle or movement in the scene. So, for example, in this part, we see Filbert's point of view. That means this is a point of view shot. So that means we're looking like we're Filbert in this case, the camera on Filbert's eyes, and we're looking at a point of view shot. And yeah, let me know what question do you have about this, Elijah? Got any questions, Elijah, so far?
Yeah.
Let me know, because I know I kind of went through this a little fast, but I want you to make sure you understand it.
Yes, I understand it.
Okay, because I'm gonna pull up another script and we're gonna go through it. But and I want you to help me with it, describe it. So we're just gonna talk a little bit more about scripting, and then we're gonna all right. So again, scene heading slug line, right? So start with where, right? So also known as the slug line of scene. This is where you put most practical and immediate information about your scene, the when and the where. So start with the where. First, is your scene inside or outside? If it's inside, we write INT for interior. If it's outside, we write EXT for exterior. Do you think yours is both? Like two characters are talking, one on the doorstep, one inside the house. There's something for boundary breaker writers, like you interior, exterior. So if it's like somebody talking inside the house and somebody's talking outside the house, we write interior, exterior to let us know one character is inside, one character outside. But typically, if they're inside, INT. outside EXT. Now, since we know where, let's get more specific where, right? This can be as simple as church or Catholic church or Baptist church. We just need to know a location because when we shoot the scene, once we know outside, okay, we're outside. Are we shooting outside of a park? Are we shooting outside of a gym? Are we shooting outside of a school? Where are we shooting outside of? So we need to get specific after we establish where exactly inside or outside. We need to establish where we're going to be specifically. And then next is the time of day, right? So will this be outside? I mean, will this be during the day, at night, morning, later on, anything like that? So again, here, INT semi-basement day. This means we're inside semi-basement during the day. Boom. Here, adjacent room. We know that we're still in adjacent room. We just switched scenes. We just switched locations for a little bit. We're still inside and it's still daytime, but all we did was we switched the room with the location we're at. So now we're in adjacent room. Then we switched it again, another room. So same interior, same time of day. We just switched the specific location. So this is your slug line. This is the beginning of your scene. Lets us know where, when, and where we are. Okay. Under that is the action scene. This is where all your non-dialogue stuff goes. So scene description, character descriptions, actions, it all goes here, right? So there are a couple rule of thumbs for action that extends beyond this formatting. First, write in third person point of view and always in the present tense. So let's take a look at this, for example. All right, so you should see my screen. All right, so right here, this is our action scene. It's always under the scene heading or slug line, right? So once we establish the when and where, now we have to establish the action. So in this case, the action is this. The Royal sits on a stool across from Richie and Margaret on the couch. Cass stands at the table in the corner reading Richie's Atlas of the World. Royal looks to Cass. Cass looks back at him, but does not move. Royal looks back to Richie and Margaret. So that's our action scene. Nobody's speaking. It's just action. It just lets us know what are we going to actually be filming now? What are the characters going to be doing? Not what they're saying, but what they're doing in this scene. So that's the action scene. And so, yep. Now, character cue, also referred to as character. So character also referred to as character cue. A character's name should be in uppercase before their piece of dialogue. In addition, in action, however, a character's name can be written normally after their introduction. So if we go back to this, again, whenever a character is about to speak, their name should be in uppercase, like Royal, Margaret, Richie. See how it's all uppercase letters. But in the action scene, it's lowercase. That's fine because it's just the action scene. But once they actually start to speak and it's their time for dialogue, when it's all uppercase, that lets us know that this is their character's line. So Royal speaks here, Margaret speaks here, Richie speaks here. It's uppercase. So we know that that's that character's line. Cool. Now dialogue. Dialogue occurs under the character's cue. So under their name, that's when the dialogue starts. So parentheses next to the character's name indicates a voiceover, off screen, or pre-lap. So a voiceover is a voiceover, meaning their voice is over the footage. Off screen means that somebody's speaking off screen. So like in the Scream series, when Ghostface, oh sorry, I didn't share my screen. So right here, dialogue. A voiceover is just somebody speaking over a scene. Off screen is when somebody's speaking off screen. So, for example, in the Scream series, right, when Drew Barrymore and Ghostface are on the phone, what's your favorite scary movie? They had his lines and they put off screen in parentheses because he's saying that off screen. We don't actually see Ghostface. We just hear his lines, what's your favorite scary movie, right? That's off screen. So if you ever read that script for Scream, his lines will have this OS next to it because those are off-screen lines. We don't actually see him. But Drew Barrymore's lines, it won't have anything next to it because we know that we're seeing her, she's speaking on screen. And then a pre-lap is when a character begins speaking before a scene starts. So sometimes you see a character speaking, and then right after it goes into the scene where they're speaking, right? So those are if you ever see parentheses next to the dialogue, that's what that means. But again, if we look at the script, I don't see any here. But dialogue in this case will be under their name. So Margaret's dialogue is "I hear you're dying." Royals is "So you're telling me." So these are the lines that the character are going to say. Very simple, right? Whatever it's like it's like a play script. Whatever they're reading, whatever the character is saying is under their name. So parentheticals. So parentheticals under a character's name are used for performance notes. So use these sparingly, both for readability and to avoid annoying the actor. If a character's line is "son, unfortunately no one can make it to your birthday party," you don't need a parenthetical saying "sadly." Actors know how to interpret lines. That's their job. If it's unexpected and not discernible in the lines, that's when you use a parenthetical. For example, if you want to if you want the affirmation line to be kind of teasing, you could write "insincere." So if we go back here, we see yawning, right? So that lets us know that when Chad says this, she's gonna be yawning, right? So how long are you gonna last? She's gonna be saying this line while she's yawning. So those parentheses give us context into how the character are actually gonna say their lines. So, like they said, though, it's use it sparingly. Don't just keep using it. Use it when it's absolutely necessary. So if somebody's saying, like, "Hey, I can't make it to your birthday," you don't have to put "sadly" under that. We know it's going to be "sadly." Or if they say, "Hey, I'm happy to see you," you don't have to put "happy" in parentheses under that because we already know that they're happy to see them. That's the point. So it's only for uses when it's not very obvious or when it's kind of you want it to be unexpected. Um, so it's just a descriptor. It's describing how the actor or actress is say their lines. All right, transitions, right? So next transition. Transition could be seen as uh, vestigial organs left over from the days of a continuity script. A transition may look something like "cut to" or "smash to" or "match cut to" on the right side of the page. But just as actors don't like too much parentheticals, editors don't love too many transitions. Like "cut to" at the end of the scene may be unnecessary. Of course, we're cutting to the next scene, right? A transition should only be indicated if it's crucial to the story. Maybe a character says, "There is absolutely no chance I get on that horse. I'd rather die than ride that horse." And in the next scene, the character's on a horse. They can use "cut to punctuate the joke. Again, like up here, let's see. We have any transition. We don't have any transitions on this one. But let's see. But I showed you before, right? On this scene, he's loading 1 second. So in this scene, we see fade in. That lets us know, okay, we're gonna fade into that scene. That's the transition. Cut to, that's the transition, right? Fade out, that's the transition. That lets the video editor know what transition they should go to or move on to. Uh, so look at some movie script examples. We're gonna look at two, and I want you to help me with this. Mhm. Okay. So here's the script. Can you see my screen?
It's supposed to be. If it's INT, it's supposed to be inside, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I'm just saying, can you see the script? Okay, so you can see, okay, so I want you where and when, where and what time of day is this scene gonna be shot in? Let me know.
Well, obviously, if it's daytime, it's probably going to be inside because that's the INT up there. So EXC is going to be in dark and outside. Outside when I believe it's day, it's going to be inside. So it's INT, obviously.
Okay, yeah. So we'll describe this scene. Where are we gonna shoot this scene? Where and when? What time of day and where? Tell me the exact specific location because it's there. We know it's inside, but inside where? Inside a church? Inside a what are we inside of?
I'm 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 thinking I'm thinking of a I'm thinking of the I'm thinking of a high school.
Say that again.
High school.
Right. So it says classroom, but yes, it could be a high school, but it says classroom. So this scene is going to be shot inside a classroom during the day. That's simple because we know INT is inside, classroom is where, specifically inside, and then day is the time of day. Right. So inside a classroom during the day. That's simple. All right. So what's the first transition in this scene? Where's the transition? What's the transition in this? So the video editor knows how we're going to transition into this scene. What is the transition in this scene? Remember, it's always in the top right corner.
Wait, no. Top right corner.
The video editor needs to know how to enter this scene. So they need to know what transition they got to use. So where do they see that? What's the transition? So remember, transitions are like cut to, match to, dip to black, fade out. What is the transition in this scene?
I normally work at a if it's inside the classroom.
You need help?
Yeah.
So the transition is right here, top right corner. It's fade in. So we know we're gonna fade into this scene, right? That's the transition. So you'll always see it in the top right corner. And it'll always be like cut to, match to, fade in, fade out, uh, dissolve to, dissolve out, dip to white, anything like that. It's always up here in the top right corner.
Right.
Okay. So remember, the action scene is always under the slug line, and this is the slug line where we said it was inside a classroom during the day. So what's the action scene in this scene? What's the action scene? Remember, it's not anybody talking, it's just whatever action is going on. So it's always under here. So it should be somewhere around here.
Sorry. Wait. Oh wait, I'm being silly.
Well, actually, sorry, they don't actually have it. Now that I'm reading it, they don't have an action scene in particular, but it would be here. So that's on me. Um, Over here, they're just showing an example. I'm trying to find an actual script. We'll do another example. I'm gonna pull up a better script, but so far it's the same format, right? So let me pull up just a better script. Sorry, this one isn't as good. Uh, okay, here's a better one. Now, let's try this again with the information you just learned. No, that's not the one. Hold on, where'd it go? Okay. So this from the Oscars, actually. The Oscars website, like the Academy Awards. Um, all right. So here's our first scene. What is our transition? Um, in this case, it's not in the top right corner, but remember, it's always something like gip out, cross dissolve. What is our transition here? How are we starting the scene?
Fade in. Let's see. We start with
Yeah, fade in. That's how we are. We're fading into this. That's the transition. It's always at the top. But this case is not in the top right, but it's always the first thing usually up here or right here or up here. It lets us know how we should begin this scene. Even
okay.
before the slug line, even before when and where, we need to know how to introduce this scene. So a fade in, exactly. So where, now tell me this, where and when is this scene being taken place? Where and when?
Mm, it's a fade in, so it's in the hotel seminar room and it's during the daytime, so it's the interior.
Right. So inside the hotel seminar room during the day, right? We see our INT is inside. Here's our location specifically, and then here's the time of day. Great. Now remember, our action scene is always under our slug line. So what's the action in this scene? Not the dialogue, but the action.
That there was no action in the script.
There is. And the other one there wasn't. That was a bad example, but this one it is. But remember, it's always under here. It's always under the slug line. So what's under here? What's under this line? Under here.
So they bust into so Joe and April's bust into a seminar room.
Exactly. That's the action scene. Exactly. It's always under the scene. It is always under the slug line. It's always under that. So you'll always see under here. Exactly. Joe and April burst through the door. That's the action scene. That's action. No one's talking. It's just action. All right. Good. Now, who are two characters in this scene?
Of course, Joe and April.
Okay. Cool. So what's Joe's first line?
Are we in time?
Good. And then April's is right under it, right? So we know their characters because they're capitalized. We know their script because it's right under their name. So we know what they're going to say. All right. So what in this scene here, what is the context? How should Joe say we are? What do we see in parentheses? Like what is happening right here? What is this right here?
Looking about the room.
Right. So why is that there? Why is that there? Why can't they just say we are? Why is that on top?
I think they're looking there because I believe after Joe catches his breath, he leans into a podium in front of the room.
Okay. So what so why is this here though? Like why is this what's the point of having this in parentheses? Like what does this mean? Why is this there under his line under Joe's
Because they're
line?
staring at something.
Exactly. So this describes how he should say these lines, right? So anytime you see parentheses above their lines, that lets us know how that character should say it. It describes that action that they should take when they say it. So when Joe says we are, he should be looking about the room when he says that. So it gives us context to how the character should be saying their lines, right? So that's what that means if we ever see parentheses. All right. So okay, let's move down here real quick. So tell me where and when this shot is going to be taking place. This scene right here. Where and when? You know?
EXT, wait, it's gonna be darker. Exterior.
Okay. So that's so we know we're outside, okay? Where are we at though? Where else where are we at outside? Where exactly are we specifically?
The Texas Capitol building.
Okay, good. And last thing, what time of day?
I believe it's night.
Why do you think it's night?
Oh wait, the kind of day. I mean,
We kind of already said it. I didn't mean to say it, but will this be shot during the daytime or nighttime?
exterior has been shot during the nighttime
Why do you think it's during the nighttime?
because I believe EXT me. Oh wait a second. If it's daytime, I mean, it did say EXT on there, which is the exterior, which means it's still on the outside. And
Right. Okay, so we know they're outside the Texas Capitol building. But is it daytime or is it nighttime?
daytime.
Exactly. It says day right here. And if it's nighttime, it'll say night. So it'll say night or it'll say day or it'll say morning or later or something like that. So yeah, exactly. This is going to be outside the Texas Capitol building during the day. There it is, right? So we know only it could be inside or outside, the specific place, and then the time of day. Okay, so let me know where's the action scene? What is the action in this scene? Remember, it's always under the slug line. So what is the action scene?
So Joe looks startled as he stands with April before the seats of the Texas is politics.
Exactly. That's the action scene. Okay, so we know our two characters are Joe and April. All right. So what is this? So in this scene where it says Joe says in the position of the character's name, how should he be saying this line?
And the position of the character's name. So
How should he be saying this? How do they describe he should be saying this?
they had to describe the character and what he's doing.
Right. So what is the description? What is the how should he say that? We know he says this line, but it's something else around here that lets us know how he should say these lines.
Looking up.
Exactly. So if you see anything in parentheses under their name and above their lines, that describes how they should say it. So if it says sadly right here instead of looking up, that means Joe should say this sadly. If it says nervously in parentheses, that means Joe should be saying this nervously, right? So it's exactly that. So we have like 7 minutes left. So I want to do one more example because I want you to just get this down. So let's do one more. And we'll finish it. Okay. So I know you see this big foundation. Wait. So this is the last one. So I know you see this big foundation line. Just disregard that. Let's just look at the script. So last one. Where and when is this scene taking place?
It's an interior. It's daytime, and I believe it's inside.
Okay, good. So you told me it's inside. You told me it's during the day, but where is this shot?
The admin office.
Exactly. Exactly. So where's the action scene? Tell me what the action is.
So Jacob approaches is Janine, who typed up a list of her lips. Who she well, Jacob approaches Janine, who types up a list on her laptop. Then he leans over her shoulder, stepping T and as she focuses.
Exactly. Exactly. Good job. And last two questions. Who are our two characters in this scene?
Jacob and Janine, obviously.
Right. Okay, then. So Jacob says this: pens, erasers, left-handed scissors. But how should he be saying this?
So okay,
Remember,
so Jacob was reading up pencils, erasers, left hand scissors. So he said that Janine he he had got some southpaws in class. And she knows about her data.
yeah, you said it pretty much. You said he's reading this because we see reading in parentheses. So we know that this character is reading while he says this. Okay, last one. What about this scene? How does he say this? Oh, got some southpaws in your class. You know a lot of data. How should he be saying this?
Let's see. He could have said,
Is he saying this sadly? Is he saying this anxiously? How is he saying this?
happily,
Why do you say happily?
excitedly, or anxiously. Yeah.
Why do you say anxiously?
I mean, because
Look what's in parentheses.
he is reading it.
Right. So we see him reading this, but this line here, we see another parentheses above this line. What's the parentheses above this line, though?
Then excited.
Exactly. So how is he saying this line? He's not saying it sadly. He's not saying it,
Excitedly.
huh?
He's reading it excitedly.
Exactly. Excited. So that's pretty much it. Um, so I just want to show you. So you got this down, right? That's the slug line, where and when, got the action scene. But just remember, if you see words in parentheses above the dialogue, that describes how they should say the line. So when here, Jacob should be reading why he says this. He should also then say this excitedly, right? Because it says excited. Down here, we don't really see anything. Yeah, right here, we see in parentheses French accent. So we know Molly should be saying this in a French accent, right? So anytime you see parentheses, that lets us know how that character should be saying those lines. So we'll cover more of this next week. But I just want to give you a brief introduction into scripts, and just talk about it. But good job today. Well, yeah, so next time you see a movie script of your favorite movie, like if you look up the Nora script, which is what we should have done, we could have broke it down and saw how everything was said and expressed. Yeah. Yeah. So you can actually see how it's expressed. And we can actually, so we'll do that next week just for like the first 10 minutes of class. I want to see what you remember, and we'll break down like the first page, first 1 or 2 pages of Honora, and see how it is and translate it, because it's the same idea. Every movie follows that same script, so you'll see it makes sense when we actually break down the script of a movie you've seen, and then you'll say, "Oh, okay, that's what it is." But other than that, you pretty much got it. It's just a matter of just remembering those parentheses and transitions. But any questions?
No questions.
Cool, cool. All right. Well, I'll see you next week. Have a good week.
All right, then you too.
Thanks.
Let's see what we got going on here today. Hold on.
I don't know what got me to talk about this topic, but I just couldn't from laughing at this a few decades ago. Want to know what I mean?
What was the topic?
It was 2 years ago in February 24th, 2023. Universal Pictures and director Elizabeth Banks made a film called Cocaine Bear.
Made a film called what?
Cocaine Bear. I mean, in the movie, it's when a bear does cocaine. It's when a bear does cocaine for no reason.
Okay.
Well, I saw this for no reason, and I just couldn't. I just can't.
Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Anything any popular with when I first saw the trailer to what was it? Oh, that's right, Megan 2.0. I believe the first movie back on January 6th, 2023 became a success. It's coming out this summer, and
oh wow,
it's good. And yeah, I've been watching Megan the entire life, and this I'm like, this is taken to a whole new level.
Oh wow.
I mean, for iconic dance, yeah, because I already know why Megan Trash was. So yeah, that's why she said, I didn't kill anyone, Kurt. You did. But I was like, but Megan, you're the one that I brought out the big old knife. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Can you deal? Okay, so I received this Esports and the Law publication. I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to walk through some of the exciting things that are happening in esports today. Okay. And it was really interesting. Specifically, they talk about Epic Sports recently filing a lawsuit against a player for cheating and some new trends for 2025 that we may be seeing. So I received this publication. I believe it's a quarterly publication, but very interesting information. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? If you're talking, you're on mute. Elijah? Okay, well. Let's we'll talk about this particular publication that I received today. So E-Games sues player for cheating in Fortnite. We talked about in the past the expectations that we have, especially when you're having gamer contracts and contractual obligations, and what could potentially terminate a contractual obligation. And cheating is one of those behaviors that can terminate a contract. You can lose your sponsorships. It can have a negative impact on your career and your sponsor's reputation. And so we don't like to cheat. So what happens? This is an example of what can happen when you are sued, right? So for the online gaming community, cheating and evading consequences of cheating goes back decades. Here they talk about the history of cheating, how developers have tried to create detection software and ban players who use it, who try to cheat in return. Software developers develop, sophisticated cheat programs to avoid detection. When we talk about jobs, right? It's not just developing content or developing new games, but we also need to keep ourselves updated with content or with new developments in cheating and spyware and hacking and things of that nature. So there are developers on both sides of that coin, and you can find it may be beneficial to hold a job as a developer because you will be creating tools that companies can use to ensure people either are not cheating or that your systems are not getting hacked. So now we know that there has been a recent rise in popularity of esports, and the benefits of that, the customer base, the increased customer base or player base, fan base, is a financial gain. So it makes it more lucrative, and that also increases the stakes. That makes the stakes higher. We have an increase in tournaments and a substantial rise in tournament prize pools. But with that has also come increased popularity in protecting the integrity of games. So that means trying to ensure people cannot cheat, trying to make sure people do not throw games, trying to make sure, it is fair players are playing fairly, because we know that there could be millions of dollars on the line. So Epic Games, who's the creator of Fortnite, is taking cheating very seriously. And in its most recent move, let's go scrolling down. They're taking it more seriously, obviously, and most recently have decided to go after one of its own players. That happened on December 16th, 2024, when it sued Sebastian Arujo for repeatedly cheating in Fortnite and Fortnite tournaments. Now, cheating in Fortnite in the game is one thing, but cheating in tournaments means that he is positioning himself to win prize money, but isn't putting in the work, isn't doing so honestly. So Fortnite suing this particular player is an important concept because we know that they're taking cheating seriously, but we also know that Fortnite suing the player might make other players more likely to and want to continue to play Fortnite, because we know that they're going to take cheating seriously and crack down on it. So in this case, I would consider this kind of a dual benefit. So according to Epic, Arujo had a significant history of cheating in Fortnite, specifically in prize money tournaments, which is important, right? This particular player used all the cheat codes that have plagued the developers for years, such as extrasensory perception, aimbots, and aimbots. Extrasensory protection is kind of like a Mac a map hike that allows a player to know the location of other players in the game and to also see other players through walls. Aimbot is a cheat code that, when used in connection with the ESP, or the extrasensory perception, controls a player's keyboard and mouse inputs to automatically aim at or other players with perfect accuracy. So now you don't have to leave it up to your own individual skill sets. You have this cheat code that allows you to find people. They're visible to you through walls, and allows you to aim and shoot at them with supreme accuracy. Now we know this is going to be problematic, right? Because no one wants to now we know you're pretty much guaranteeing accuracy and positioning. And that's going to be give you a benefit. That's going to give you an advantage. Now, this article goes on to say that aimbots and ESPs have been around for decades, but the lengths in which Arujo went to avoid detection has not. All other online games, just like Fortnite, have invested in anti-cheat kind of spyware, anti-cheat software, and they have several softwares that they've implemented as well to ensure that people aren't cheating. Some of that software that detects cheating in player games Fortnite will detect it and will not allow a computer to boot to access Fortnite. However, and if a computer's serial number or network designation, Epic can ban a player based on their the computer serial number or network designation, and then the computer in question may permanently be restricted from launching and using Fortnite permanently. That's important to note because now I can't use my computer, I can't use my internet source. I would have to find another computer and use another source for your internet. And that's important. So when we start talking about the lengths that Epic and other gamer developers go to ensure players can't cheat, they take it really seriously. They take it very seriously. And we can understand why that is important. So in this particular case, Arujo was able to get past the ID ban by using direct memory access device, along with a direct memory access device cheat program installed on his computer. So now he's using 3 different programs to help facilitate in this cheating. The direct memory access device cheats to use 2 computers to operate. The first computer runs Fortnite and the second computer runs the cheat software. So for the cheat software to operate, it accesses computer memory associated with Fortnite, and through the device, it transmits to a second computer running the cheat software. Now, this avoids the hardware ban, but also avoids the cheat detection software from detecting the cheats in the first place because it's on a separate computer. As a backup plan, Epic also alleged that Arujo used a hardware ID spoofer, which altered the serial numbers in the hardware running Fortnite and the device. So not only is he using programs and cheat codes to enhance his ability to play the game, making him more accurate, making opponents more visible. But now he's also using a program that's making these cheat codes undetectable. So in June 2024, he was banned after they detected he was using cheats in Fortnite. And 2 weeks later, created new accounts with fake names and was playing Fortnite tournaments. Over the next 4 months, he entered in over 18 tournaments, winning approximately $3,500. Arujo allegedly cheated in every single tournament, despite and in those tournaments, Epic received a lot of reports about Arujo's play and questions concerning whether or not he was cheating. So after reviewing the footage, Epic confirmed that Arujo was at it again using cheats during tournament play. At this point, Epic was tired of going back and forth. They had banned Arujo. He found another way to get around. He's still playing in tournaments. He's winning money. And Epic files a lawsuit for cheating in 18 tournaments in 5 months and creating at least 4 fake accounts in the process. This lawsuit was filed on December 16, 2024, claiming that he circumvented Epic's technological measure in violation of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, breached Epic's end user license agreements, infringed Epic's copyrights in Fortnite, and committed fraud. The easiest of those claims is that they allege that Arujo breached the end user licensing or license agreement and the tournament agreements. Both agreements prohibit players from using any kind of cheating device, programs, or similar cheating methods to gain competitive advantage. This is important because we know in our in-license user agreements, whenever we log on to something, whenever we log into something, we are agreeing to we need to read that fine print. We don't always read the fine print, but we most certainly should read the fine print. It's important to read the fine print so that we know what the expectations are when we're using something. That can include any video game. They always have end user agreements because they don't want you to cheat. They don't want you to take or use protected information. So we're going to see that. And it's important to have those user agreements in place because one thing that we want to make sure is that we are protecting our players because we want them to feel safe to continue to play. If they don't feel safe to continue to play, then we know that we'll lose money because they'll stop playing in the video games. So both of these measures are extremely important and hold a lot of weight and can stand up in court because you've agreed to behaving in such a way that if in violation of these contracts, then you could be held accountable. And that's what's happening here. According to this article, they felt that Epic's copyright claim was interesting. And we talked a lot about copyrights in this class and how the use of a copyright is generally an individual using that protected intellectual property to either as using it or presenting it as their own. And doesn't sound like that's what Arujo had been doing here. But as we read more into this article, the copyright claim is starting to be a weapon that many game developers have used in their fights against cheap software development. So this is because in order to cheat, in order for the cheap software to function, the cheat program must contain copied portions of Fortnite's copyrighted software code. So at this point, in order for it to work, you have to still essentially take or use portions of the software copyright code, Fortnite's copyright code, and able to mimic the game and to successfully cheat. And to do so, we're going to say, hey, in doing that, you are in violation of our copyright because you are presenting yourself as Fortnite for these purposes. You're holding yourself out to be Fortnite, even when you are not. So whenever a cheat code program is run on a computer, the copy of the program code for Fortnite must also run. And in this particular case, we know this responded used cheat code software several times, and each and every time could be a violation of Fortnite's copyright. Title 17, Section 1201 of the U.S. Code also provides that no person shall circumvent a technological measure that effectively controls access to a work protected under copyright law. That's also important to note as well, because that's one of the claims. So as we get down to the nitty gritty, well, actually, Epic's final claim is related to the fraud, and it's obviously related to Arujo making several fake accounts after his numerous bans, pretending to be someone else, and the end user license agreement also prevents Arujo from doing so. And the Epic claim, in this case, he would have misrepresented that he would not disable or circumvent any of Fortnite's security measures in the end user license agreement. And so in order to have an unfair advantage or use any unauthorized software to gain an unfair advantage. Obviously here, Epic is claiming that he most certainly did do that. So what happened? What wasn't also very important about this lawsuit is essentially Epic Games is taking it to a next level and stating that Arujo using the fake lawsuits or the fake accounts to play in multiple tournaments. In doing so, he was accepting and agreeing to the tournament's agreements with no intentions of complying with the terms. The terms and conditions of the tournament agreements were all obviously not to cheat, right? Not to use any unauthorized software to gain an unfair advantage, right? That's always going to be important because you don't want to cheat. You don't want to misrepresent who you are. In doing so, you're not giving everyone a fair option or opportunity to play the game. And so Epic Games, the fraud claim is alleging that Arujo misrepresented that he would not use any cheat programs to gain a competitive edge because he did so. In fact, he signed those user agreements, but he knew for a fact that he wasn't going to abide by those agreements, which again became a problem Well, according to Epic Games, is aligned with the fraud and misrepresentation. So Epic Game went on to claim that these misrepresentations allowed Arujo to play in publicized tournaments after being banned, damaged his reputation and goodwill. That's important because we know that it's important. The reputation and goodwill are key elements to this. The claim that there is a damage to the reputation and goodwill is also a key element when we talk about contracts and expectations. We talked about this when we talked about sponsorship agreements. The sponsors or the company or the developers, their reputation is a core benefit of the company because a positive representation will get people to buy more and more. It will get people to play the game more. It entices people when they know that the game is safe and not rigged. It entices people to continue to playing the game. We see that happening. That's why reviews are so important. And people always ask for reviews. Word of mouth is still a very extremely important tool and tactic that is used in growing your business. And even when right now, we have situations where a company might pay someone for their review. And if a company does pay someone for their review, they have to disclose that I was paid for this review, but this is my own independent feelings and or thoughts about this product. That's how important customer reviews still are. That's how important or how relevant reputation and goodwill still are in the community. So we have to think about that. And this is why Epic Games finds this kind of behavior very extremely damaging and a misrepresentation and important. Not only that, but we also know that esports prize pools are continuing to increase. So it's almost like stealing money from people who deserve it because we know that you do not. People are spending time and money trying to increase their skill sets in order to compete when other people are cheating, and that's just not fair, right? That becomes a problem long term. If you continue to do that, then it diminishes esports as a whole. It takes away from the players, obviously, who spend their hours perfecting their own craft. They're spending hours, precious moments of their day that they take away from their family and friends with an expectation to be their best selves and win these tournaments. But when you have this unfair advantage, you win even though you don't deserve the win. The people who deserve to win cannot because you're deciding to cheat. And again, when that happens, it ruins the reputation of the game because now people think this is an easy game to cheat. I don't want to waste my time and energy playing this game, knowing that they'll allow people to cheat or there'll be cheaters with no consequences, and I will never win, in these tournaments because of so much cheating. So we try to avoid, and that's why companies crack down on behavior like this, again, because it's in their best interest to ensure that people are abiding by the rules and expectations and not cheating. Like Arujo was doing. So instead of spending the time and effort and the money that he may have needed to in order to learn and perfect his craft, he was spending it, right? And he was spending it to cheat instead. And according to Epic Games, Arujo spent a significant amount of money to cheat. So this endeavor wasn't cheap. It cost him a lot of money as well. According to this article, it likely cost him thousands of dollars because he needed 2 high-performing computers, the DMS device the actual cheat software. And you would also needed to take the time to learn the software, how to run the software, how to manage the software, how to coordinate the device, and how to cheat the program. When you really think about the time and effort you put into learning and perfecting the craft at cheating, you would think one would just do what is honorable and operate and act with integrity and do what's right and just play the video game, right? Learn the video game and play the video game, but not here in this case. According to this article, they don't even believe after purchasing all that Arujo even broke even on the $3,500 winnings for those 18 tournaments. Now, when you think about it, he played 18 tournaments over 5 months after he was banned when he was caught cheating. I'm not sure how many tournaments he played in prior to that, and that was in June, I believe. I'm not sure how many tournaments he played in prior to that and whether or not there's any evidence that he was cheating. Well, he was banned for cheating. So I'm not sure if he had any earnings or winnings prior to that. But again, if he did, we could consider that. And if he didn't, was it even worth it? Was it even worth it? Now, this is kind of one of the first lawsuits that we've seen of this kind, where an organization is filing a lawsuit against a player for excessive cheating, but it's not likely the last. This lawsuit may be the beginning of a new crackdown by game developers against players who cheat, especially those who cheat at tournaments. That is so extremely important because we know these are places where a lot of money is on the line. There's high stakes. So with esports continuing to gain popularity and the sport continuing to grow, increasing the tournament pool, there comes definitely an increase for a demand for security and demand for fair and balanced competition. So Epic and other developers are unlikely to risk their tournaments, which draws hundreds and thousands of viewers, because that is seen are being seen as compromised. So at the end of the day, what we don't want is for hundreds and thousands of people to pull out of these tournaments, kind of diminishing the integrity of esports as a whole because you have a couple of cheaters. And when that happens, when the cheating becomes so prevalent in esports, it decreases other individuals or other gamers' motivation to continue to play the sport. If I know that I have to pay this money, I won't win because people are cheating, I'm less likely to want to continue playing the sport. So in order to avoid that, in this particular case, Epic Games went on ahead, filed a lawsuit against the gamer in order to curb not just this particular gamer's appetite for cheating in the future, but also to curb other gamers' appetite for cheating, because now we're not going to allow you to continue to do so. Okay. Does that make sense? I think I must have lost you, Elijah.
Apparently, I didn't have any questions for you at the moment about all the esports. And for some reason, I wish I could make it to the tournament, but unfortunately, the tournament that was from February 28th to March 2nd, and too bad I already missed it. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, and but on the other hand, it's still pretty entertaining. And was there any video footage of the gaming tournament or no?
No, there wasn't. But this is a gamer who was caught cheating at the tournaments.
Wait, somebody cheated it? Wait. Especially somebody got disqualified right about that.
Yeah. He got banned from tournaments. He was cheating in tournaments. And so that's the problem that we're having here.
Well, you oh, light bulb.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
just gotta be thinking about another reference to Kid He's doing a tournament reference, and that's from Darman, you know. You got me thinking of light bulb again.
There goes that light bulb. I love it. I love it. I think it's important that we keep in mind, it's kind of keeping the top of our mind the importance of integrity, right? Integrity, saying doing the things that you say that you're going to do, making sure that you are not cheating, right? Not misleading people, because your integrity impacts the integrity of the game. And a lot of people start these tournaments cheating, only thinking about themselves and what they have or stand to gain, when in reality, it's the whole it has a negative impact on the cheater and the game, because now you may no longer be able to play. Now it isn't as lucrative anymore. So meaning it decreases in value because people know that you are in fact cheating. So they're no longer interested in playing. So we don't want that to happen, right? We want people to stop gaming. No, I don't think so. I don't think we do, right, Elijah? Do you want to stop gaming?
Of course, I don't want to stop gaming.
But how would you feel if people keep cheating?
And if I saw people cheating on during the game stream, I would just call time out for 1 second, and I had to investigate everything until I see if the gamer has been cheating or not.
Yeah.
If he does, he's been disqualified. If he's using the right stuff, well, he's good.
Go sit down. You want it? So that's what we don't want. We don't want people to continue to cheat, because you're right. It has a negative impact on the game. And players like yourself are less likely to want to continue to play the game. So we need to kind of nip
Right.
that in the bud, right?
Mhm.
It's important to nip that in the bud. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, do you have any questions about this article?
No questions.
Mm-hmm. Well, Aramis will be with you shortly. It was good talking to you tonight.
You too.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Okay, so give me 2 minutes and then we will get started.
Okay.
1 minute, we'll get started. Yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aramis, and this is the intro to music production class. So today, we're gonna do things a little bit differently, right? You're gonna have a little bit of dialogue. I'm gonna do a real quick demo, try to make a beat, and then we're gonna wrap up class. Sound like a plan? Sound like a plan,
Yes, that
Elijah?
sounds like a plan.
All right, so let's do this, please. So right now, I want you can ask me anything for the next 10 minutes about music. So if you have any ideas about music, you have any ideas about, just music industry period, or questions about the music industry period, go ahead and ask me, and I will answer it the best I can. And in return, I'm going to ask you some questions. So my first question I'm going to ask you is, what type of music do you listen to? Elijah?
I'm still here.
So what type of music do you listen to, Elijah?
Apparently,
Say it again?
what was it choose?
Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, let's say that again. So who do you listen to, Elijah?
For some reason, I thought I wanted to go see the tournament, but apparently I missed it all. But and I heard that one gamer got disqualified for cheating.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do that was? What did he do that he thought was illegal that he can't use in gaming?
Well, it's quite a few things. So, okay, so let's take Smash Bros. For example, right? So Smash Brothers, right? It's certain characters that you won't be able to use because they're illegal to use, right? So someone like Meta Knight, you can't use him in a tournament setting because he have a spamming attack that haven't been passed. Another character, I believe, this band is King Dedede for the same reasons. It's because they have stamina attacks, right? Certain, even in Street Fighter, right? Like even in Street Fighter, I love Street Fighter, right? In certain tournaments, I can't use one of my favorite characters, Oro, because he have a spamming attack. So they won't allow you to use certain characters. So those are things that can be considered cheating. Um, Using certain controllers with glitches and mods in it, that's illegal to use in tournaments. So yeah, so those are some things that you can definitely get caught for cheating on, right? So like an aimbot, right? You having an aimbot installed on your controller and you're playing something like Call of Duty or Fortnite or Halo, you can get caught cheating because they have their own consoles that have anti-cheating software installed. So it's going to help them. You know what I'm saying? It's going to help them find who's the cheaters are. Who's the cheaters? Who's the cheaters? You know what I'm saying? How they're cheating, and this is how they're cheating. This is why they was cheating. So yeah, there's definitely ways for you to definitely get caught with cheating. But Elijah, what music do you listen to? Who are some artists that you listen to?
A few types of music that I listen to is, let's see, I listen to party music for an example. The only song I remember listening to is "Party in the USA," and it's a good song by Miley Cyrus. It's
Okay.
released 16 years ago, September 20th.
All right. All right, another song. Okay, I get you. Who else? Who else? It don't got to be artists. It could be just songs, or like what's some of your favorite songs right now that you're listening to?
I also listened to Demi Lovato's "Confident."
It's okay. Nice song. That's a nice song right there. I know about that song. Um, okay. So, do you have another question you want to ask me?
I think I'm good for now. No questions.
Okay. Well, let's just talk about some music history real quick. Say some music history real quick, like the history of hip hop. It started in the very late '70s, early '80s. It's a product of the death of disco, along with quite a few genres of music, such as house music, house music period. I mean, Chicago made house music, but hip hop was also the product of the death of disco. It started in New York, of course, in the Bronx, um, or Queens, whatever you want to believe, but it's the Bronx at a party in 1979 in the Bronx at a college hotel, college apartment building. And the DJ was charging people to get in. He was scratching the records. He was mixing old disco records with new music and was making pretty much hip hop breakbeats. So that's kind of the start in the origin of hip hop music. Um, from there, it evolved into something like Rappers Delight, right? And you know that song, everybody knew that song, Rappers Delight. Um, and then you have like your KRS-One, you had your Curtis Blow, Blondie. So you have one of the very few raps, the very first rap songs that were getting played on MTV. And from there, it just kind of grew, right? Kind of grew from that to like '80s hip hop music, KRS-One and Public Enemy and Ice-T and NWA. And then it evolved into like the '90s, golden era with De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, the Jungle Brothers, Busta Rhymes and the New School, Leaders in the New School, um, Common, Nas, Jay-Z, Tupac, Biggie. It just kind of exploded really overnight. I want to say in the late '80s, early '90s, kind of just exploded popularity. From there, you can argue that that was the beginning of their subgenre of rap, even though we talk to a lot of rappers, they don't believe in subgenre for rap music, even though I feel like it started back in the '90s, right, where you have like the mafioso rap styles of like a Nas, like a Biggie, like a Hove, Mod Deep in them. Like they kind of really took that type of rap and popularized it to the forefront. Then of course you have like I'm not gonna say neo soul rap. That's kind of disrespectful, but I am going to say just alternative rap music, right? With a Tribe Called Quest, probably my favorite band period of all time, my favorite group, and not only rap, just music of all time. I hold them in very, very high regard. I consider them for me my building block of developing my music taste. Tribe Called Quest. Same thing with De La Soul, same thing with Nas, a few others of that era. Tupac, of course, Biggie. Um, like they really was like my building blocks. LL Cool J, of course, building blocks. Um, but hip hop is definitely the move. It's awesome. I love it. It just helped develop me in a lot of ways I didn't think that it would. But not only just hip hop, you have things like rock and roll music that was started by Black people also. You got Rebecca Thorpe, you have Chuck Berry. They really just took that sound of rock and roll and just put it out to the masses. And then, of course, you have people take that style, copy it, repackage it as their own. But it started really with those two. Actually, just really started with Rebecca Thorpe. Even like classical music. That's I love classical music, or orchestral music, like orchestral music. So I love like Chopin, I love Beethoven, Bach, I love the working. I love a lot of them composers and the compositions that they made. Like Leaders in the New World, one of my favorite compositions ever. Um, it's a quote that he has talking about that song and how he felt the future of music, how the future of music was going to go and how we're going to evolve. And pretty much he was saying that Black people was going to help push music to the forefront in the future and beyond. So And pretty much that is definitely what we're doing. I mean, and it's awesome. Um, I just love music. It really helped me just grow as a person, grow as a human being, grow as a black man. And me learning music production was just an extension of that. I always loved really great instrumental tracks. And I always just wanted to learn how do they do that. And being able to learn how to make music with FL Studio and just other DAW or other digital audio workstations, of course. It really did so much for me my teenage years, just growing up, learning how to make production art. So, maybe you don't feel it's not your cup of tea making production, but in this class, you definitely are going to have the tools in order to become, a really great artist, a really great beat maker, production artist, right? You have the tools, you have the basic tools, you can always grow from there, no matter how old you are. Now, if you would give me a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and pull up a YouTube video explaining FL Studio somewhat, and then we're going to go from there. So just give me a few seconds, and I will have that. Actually, I want to play a history of FL Studio history video. It's telling you the history of FL Studio. It's about 14, 15 minutes. So let's go ahead and get that started.
Love harmonies from a single track with edges. Independent voices, flexible generating. Soul Studio One was created on December 18, 1997. Apparently at 5:39 p.m. by a lone Belgian developer named Didier Danfried. That's one look rough. I mean, just look at this thing. It was the ugly duckling of software. It wasn't even ever officially released. Despite not ever having an official release, the software became so popular it overwhelmed individual servers from the number of downloads, prompting them to make FL Studio into a full DAW. You heard me correctly. FL One was not even a full DAW. It was a MIDI only and essentially just a drum machine. Other than the interface, I can't find much information on this version. I received small updates during 98 and 99, like bug fixes, UI changes, and performance enhancements. It kept receiving small updates like that for a while, that is, until FL2 went.
And he's right. That's actually right. That's actually true. So FL Studio wasn't a full program. It was developed back in 1999, 98, 99. It wasn't a full program. It was literally just MIDI controller programs. Pretty much what that means is you got your keyboard, whether it was like a Phantom keyboard or Motif keyboard or a Korg workstation, even a Casio keyboard, right? You just use the program so you can have the music on your computer. That's literally all it was made for. It got so popular though, like he said, that they end up making it a full digital audio workstation. And yes, it was called Fruity Loops at first, and that's what FL is short for in the FL Studio is Fruity. Know how important those things are. You don't know how important being able to have 30-bit wave files into FL Studio or being able to have MIDI input instead of just outputting the program. It was a huge thing because it made music production, like learning how to make beats accessible to the masses just in the personal space, home space, right? So you didn't have to go to a big time studio. You could just download the program, install it on your laptop or your PC, and being able to make music and to come properly on your phone. That all happened. So Kellogg, Fruity Loops, Fruity Loops cereal people, they make the cereal. They sued them for the trademark of the name. Even when they already had the name in Europe, they didn't have the name in the United States. The United States is the biggest market, free market, country on Earth, on planet Earth for the most part. So, you really want to have your market in FL Studio. I mean, you really want to have your market in the United States. So they had to change the name, but also they had to change the name because it's a loose part, and that's why it's called FL Studio now. When I was growing up, it was called FL. Fruity Loops 1, 2, and 3, for I think up to 5, and then after that it was renamed FL Studio. So that's what it's known now. Also because it get a bad rap, not only just from the Kellogg lawsuit and the customer lawsuit, but it was also getting sued, or not sued, but a bad rap from other artists like Soulja Boy, who he used FL Studio, but he used the very basic stock sounds. He really didn't change any keys or anything like that, and that kind of hurt. So in order to just distance themselves away from all the negative attention and publicity, they go ahead and they went ahead and changed their name from Fruity Loops to FL Studio. And I think it was the right call. It just sounds better. It sounds a bit more professional. And it's a name that, if you're in the music industry, you know. My first copy of FL Studio right here, FL6. This is definitely my first copy. It takes me back. I have very, very great memories of using Fruity Loop 6, FL6. This is what made me into, be, the producer, the sample chopper today is that. I have very fond memories. Citrus was great as a plugin. It was free. Still is free. Still is in FL Studios today. You definitely still access it. You can definitely still do a lot of crazy things with it. Food Base is pretty decent. One of my favorite add-ons that I was using during that time. Just the fact that I could just use plugins was just awesome. So this is one of my favorite things with FL Studio is the free lifetime updates, right? So when you buy FL Studio, like when you buy the program for Edison, you get free updates for life. So no matter what, you get a free update. So right now, this is they talk about FL 9, I believe, FL 9.0. So you get FL 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And now they have it like yearly 2024, you got it for free. So that was a huge thing that Amplify offered that a lot of others don't. They're kind of like subscription based, so you always have to buy the new one. No, with FL Studio, you got the free updates for life. Um, it's definitely something that I agree with. This is one of my favorite additions that they did with FL Studio. It's the playlist. One of my favorites right here. Just a real quick recap. I was telling you all, like, right now, what I'm teaching you all how to make beats, I'm teaching you all how to do pretty much what it's called a two-track on one track, right? So you're putting the beat in just one track. So with this, everything is kind of split up, right? Your main pad, your dream pills, your pad bass, the art bass, the boxes, some ARP, some 303, probably some 808 down there. And then you set everything up with your intro, your build, your main verse, your breakdown.
your chorus, and your outro. So this is one of my favorites right here. Additions that FL Studio did because it just visually looks better than just having blocks on the screen. Being able to see the pattern in production, like how everything is set up, is great. So
Patterns.
and also you can add effects, right? So you can see you got like your box effect, you got your envelope effect right here. Like it's really dope. So it's one of my favorite plugins here with FL Studio, and I'm so mad that they took it out of the version that you would get. Like if you bought it, you have to pay for this separately. But once you pay for it, it's yours forever. So when you update, it stays with you. But what Gross Beats does is it helps chop up the beat for you. So with like a lot of like making drops, repeating patterns and stuff like that, FL Studio does. It has the presets right here that are pretty good, but they also have an empty slot where you can make your own. I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
Studio. It was released alongside 9.0 and changed the way beats were made. Think about all the producers who swear by gross beat. It's probably the most talked about plugin when people are talking about FL Studio. I personally can't imagine making music without this thing.
Right, and all those producers just saying Southside Team 88 Nick Nair, Hit Boy, Boy Wonder. A lot of people swear about gross beats. That's awesome. That's great. This is why I kind of teach you all how to use piano roll, because using piano roll is very, very powerful, like the man just said. It allows you to really get in tune and dig deep with your instrumentation, because you can make all the chords, right? You can look at the MIDI keyboard if you wanted to. You can play something else and it will show up in your piano roll. Very, very important. It's also a cheap way for you to have a piano, right? So let's say you don't have the money to buy a motif piano, right? A Yamaha motif or a Phantom or a chord, right? But you have the money to buy an 88 MIDI keyboard controller, all right? You have that money, and let's say you have the Alicia Keys plugin for the piano that you use, right? She have a plugin. It's called the Alicia Keys Grand Piano plugin, where she took her personal computer and recorded her, and everything, right? So you can have access to a really great sound piano built into FL Studio. So let's say you're not using FL Studio to so-called quote unquote big beats and beat production, but you want to go ahead and create um, your own piano music or your own piano score. So like we said, with this, you can do that and you can print out your piano roll music as sheet music. So a lot of people that I know that play piano part-time, full-time, they want to make their own music. They use FL Studio because it's just a cheaper and better way in order to get them out of their brain and onto the screen where they can hear it and then print it out later as piano music. So yes. And that was just a real quick video on FL Studio. I mean, with a history of FL Studio. It's a new video. And, hope you got some really good information out of that, right? So, real quick, let's do a demo. Let's go ahead and do a demo of FL Studio. This is the FL Studio that you use right here. So as you know, I wanted to open with an 808 with a limiter. Now I know you probably wonder what is a limiter? Pretty much what a limiter does is it's only going to let the bass go so high before it gets distorted, right? So that's what an 808 limiter is. Look, usually I don't at home. I have mine set up to where it's not a limiter. So I'm gonna show you. You're gonna do some templates. You can use all these templates right here. I usually just use this one without a limiter. It's pretty much it. But using it with a limiter is okay. You can get the flex space with this one also. Sure. So let's go ahead and just go up a little bit. Go to 32, of course. And then go to 32. That's 32. Then I want to go to, let's go 160. So you always start your beats on your ones and your twos, right? Right? So starting beats on your ones and twos is the easiest way for you to start the drum pattern. You can just use it to ones and twos right there. So you just go with hi-hat, fill every two. Right? A little bit of a bounce right there. And let's do this. When you're raising your sevens. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No mirrors by the time.
Reason why I tell you all to start off on your ones I think I see why. Okay, so as I was saying, we all know how to start off with our beats on our ones and twos. We know to kind of fill your hi-hats every two, right? You right click, then you do every two, fill every two step. And then with your snares or your clap, it's going to be in your threes and sevens. And then from your ones and twos, you can expand your drum so it can sound something like this. So we can solo this, solo this. Right now, let's say I didn't want to record it, right? Like I wanted to record it while I was playing. What you could do is right here, type keyboard to piano. You want to keep that on. You can do a countdown, or you just hit record. And as soon as you hit record, you're going to be able to record what I was just trying to do with piano roll, right? Put it show up in here. Now, when it show up in here, it may be something like this. Let me show you. So maybe something like. You can do this thing. It was like off key. See, I want off key. You do the thing called quantization. Go to tools, go to quick quantize, and then go to quantize for D. So everything matches up. Right. And it's so much that you can do with quantization. There's so much you can do with chopping. So let's say I wanted to put like this narrow. So I wanted to clone this. So where is it going? I don't know why I won't let. Oh, I can't do it. Wow. Okay. It won't let me do it because it's a trial version. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it the old way, which is going here, going to snares, and hitting my 808 snare. I'm just going to go ahead and insert that right there. Right. I'm going to go to piano roll. Bring this over here, of course. I'm going to maximize it. Right. So let's say I wanted to add a row. What you can do is go right here. You're going to select this, right? You're going to select that. Go to tools. You can do chop or quick chop. We'll do quick chop. It's going to make it two. Now I'm going to undo that one because I'm going to show you a better one. You can go to chop your, you can chop it yourself. Go right here. From here, it's the time multiplicator, right? It can make it faster. It can make it slower. So of course you can leave it at one. You can have it at two. You can have it at one, two, right? But then let's say I want it four. I want it four like that. So, and this is what it does. Yeah, I'm going to just move that just a little bit back. Hold on, wait. Hold on. Undo. Hit select real quick. Hit the paintbrush and just move all of this back. So like right there. That's how a lot of the trap producers like TM88, Southside, Metro Boomin. That's how they do their snare rolls. It's like that at the top. All right, Elijah. Well, it is about that time. It is pretty much 7:45. So what did we learn today? We learned more about the history of FL Studio and the origins of what it was and what it became. And we just did a demo session. We had a question segment where you can ask me questions about music or the tournament, whatever like that. And that's pretty much it. So next week, Elijah, we are going to start the IT fundamental class, right? So today is the last day of new production. And next week, we're going to focus on the IT fundamental class, right? So the IT fundamental class will consist of you learning the basics of IT. We're going to go over the terminology, the terminology in IT, how to do some software troubleshooting, how to do some hardware troubleshooting, right? What is RAM? What is an SSD? What is an HHD? Is it the difference between the two? That's pretty much what this class is going to cover. So, if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, you can reach me at aramis.singleton@clickservices.nfp.org. Or if you're in class, you can put me over to the side before or after class, and I will answer the questions, help you out the best way I can. But until then, Elijah, you have a great night. I will see you Friday for the streaming class, and then remember next week on Tuesday will be the start of IT fundamentals. I am excited about.
Okay, then sounds good.
All right, Elijah, you have a great night, and I will see you Friday.
Okay, then talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.